Happy Friday, Infiniteers, and welcome back for another episode of Toy Box Classics. Today, we are going to continue working on Gusteau's kitchen, and our focus today will be the 3 stainless steel prep stations, one of which has a sink. Here's a screenshot of the kitchen from the Ratatouille movie that shows all 3 stations. The 2 stations on the left are stainless steel tables with a shelf underneath. The station on the right is also stainless steel with a shelf underneath, but it has a sink, and you can't see that in this shot, but you do see it in this shot. The faucet consists of 2 handles and a long curved spout, and since we don't really have handles like that in the toy box, we will do what D-Animator did in his original toy box and use a pair of knobs. Now, regarding the location of the first 2 prep stations, you can tell from this shot that those 2 stainless steel tables are located right off the end of the 2 large stoves in the middle of the room. So these prep stations are what we're going to build today, and we'll start with the 2 tables, which will sit here and over here. And as we begin, we'll start with this wide rope bridge. This is how Remy is going to get from the stoves to each of those stainless steel tables. So we're going to place one of those just off the edge there. And you saw that's out of the platforming toys. Then we'll go down to basic blocks. And let me pull up my screen grab here. Okay, we're going to line this up with the left edge of the bridge at the same height. And for the theme on this, we're going to use the Metal 1 theme. That's the closest thing we have to stainless steel, and it works pretty well. All right, and then make that 3 long. With a square block on either end. Okay? And we'll come back and add the surface to that a little bit later, but while we're right here in this part of the drawer, let's go ahead and do the same thing over here. Because both of these tables are identical. Okay, and then for the legs, there is a column here that will work well for that. So we're going to put one on every corner of the table. And you'll notice it's raised up off the floor a little bit. That's okay. We'll come back and take care of that in a moment. And for the bottom of the leg, we'll use the pillar block. We'll put one under each column. So it's a very simple build for each table. All right. And then for the surface of the table, if you go over to the right to the floor blocks, we have the large floor. And then for the shelf underneath, you just come down here like that. And there we go. There's the first 2 prep stations. And I think that looks pretty good. They were a little bit further apart from the stove in the movie. I think they were out here a little bit more. But just so that it works with the rope bridge, I think we'll leave it this way. And if you figure, all of the staff quit and Remy's doing all of the work, then he would have had Linguini push the tables closer together to the stove so that the rope bridge would stretch across. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Okay. There's also some things on the surface of each table, but we'll come back to that because the block texture right now is stainless steel, and we should stick with that. All right, so for the sink, let me grab my screenshot for that. Okay, so what we're going to do is the sink in Deanimator's toy box was connected to this stove using a rail slide. So we're going to build the rail slide first, and that's going to tell us about how far away the sink is from this table. And what I want to grab here is the steep ramp rail. We're going to line this up with the middle of that floor block up there at the top, the one that's under those two little shakers. Okay, and then we will grab the ramp rail here, and this will take us to the edge of the sink, so that's where that will sit. Let's come back and grab this block, pick it up, put it back, come over here off the end of the rail slide, put that there, and the sink will be 4 of these blocks wide, so like that. And this will be a little wider than those other 2 prep stations because we have to have a sink in this thing. Okay, and then let's see, we're going to, how do we want to do this? I'm trying to see how I built this thing. Oh, yeah. It's a little bit wider even than that. I was kind of measuring off where everything had to go and realized I'd forgotten. This block needs to sit here in the middle in order for everything to line up the way it's got to line up. Okay, so this will be the divider between the 2 sinks. Each sink will go inside that compartment there and that compartment there. And then sinks have a little depth to them, so we're going to build a little area here around them. And then we'll come up to our floor block. And we're going to put this right here, let's see, like that. And one over on that end. And we need a bottom on the sink. So like that. And there we go. Okay. So there's our basic sink. And then for the table legs on this, what we're going to do, we're going to do this one a little bit differently than we did the other one. So we're going to bring this all the way down to the floor. We're going to put that pillar block on top. That way it won't look quite the same as the other one. It'll look a little bit different. And the other advantage is that we don't have to have these table legs come up underneath that piece like we did on those other tables, because this is far enough apart where we can put this under here. And we're going to do it that way, but it needs to be over just a little bit further. Here we go. That looks pretty good. Let's put in the faucet next. And for that, let's go back to the start of the blocks drawer by picking that up and putting it back. And I don't really have a hooked shape that I can use for the faucet, so we're going to kind of try to build something that looks hooked out of basic blocks. It's not going to look perfect, but it'll kind of look like a spout. Oops. Put this up on the front. And then we'll use this for our knob. Actually, that should sit a little bit forward. And for the theme on the knob, we're going to use the Metal 2 theme, which gives it a rigid look that looks a lot like the kind of knobs you see on some faucets. So I really like that. And then we need water in the sinks. So we're going to use this flat piece for that. And we'll put it down about this level. We're going to change the style on this to be the water theme. Got to go to the left to pick that up. There we go. And there we have a sink with some water. And I like the way that looks. So now we have our sink and we have our two prep stations. And those look pretty good. Okay, let's go ahead and add some detail now. And I thought on the sink station, what we could do, come down and pick this piece up to get back to that part of the drawer. We could put a block of ice here, so we can set the theme on that block to be the frozen theme. We just want to add some variety, as much variety as we can, so it looks like there's a lot of food items to pick from when we're cooking. And then I thought on here that it would be fun to have some oysters or something. So if you're on console and you have the Finding Dory playset, or you've updated your game to be able to get these things, let's see, I think it's under Gameplay Toys. If you go left past the collectibles, there's some breakable objects that the Finding Dory game unlocks for you. And one of them is this mussel cluster. And I just kind of like the look of that. I thought it would be kind of fun to put a couple of those here. And if you don't have those, that's all right. You can leave this blank or put something else there if you want. It's not a problem. But that just looks like a nice food item. And then over here, let's pick this piece up and put it back, and we're going to put a few things in here that we're going to style that will look like food items. And let me get to that part of my screen grabs here. So this first one we're going to line up like that. And then we're going to use some of these domes. And if we come over here, we're going to raise that one up. We're going to build a head of lettuce. And we're going to use this for some bread that maybe has been cut by a knife. And then there's an upside down dome here that we can use. And for the little wedge of cheese here, there's a texture down here in the Star Wars textures, this Dianoga texture, which kind of makes it look a little like some kind of cheese. I think that's pretty cool. And then there's a Bright Tree Village hut floor that if you apply that to this, kind of makes it look like a loaf of bread that's been cut, which is kind of cool. And then for these two blocks, the only thing I found that really looks like lettuce, even remotely like some kind of lettuce, would be this ivy theme. And that's about the best that I saw. It kind of looks like a leafy lettuce kind of thing. There's some other green textures that you could use. That's the one I chose to use. Okay, and then to get from this table over to this table, we're going to use another rail slide. So I'm going to pick this piece up, put it back to get back to that part of the drawer. And we're going to use the steep ramp rail again. We're going to center this on the table all the way up to the edge of the table like that. And, whoops, not there. We want to leave enough room for one of these. And then it should take two of those to get you over to the table over here. So if you want to use that rail slide, you got to hop up on top of the lettuce and then jump over here and ride the slide. Okay, on the table over here, for the little foodstuffs that are here, let's go back down to the blocks drawer. And these food items really are all about creatively using the curved blocks and picking textures that look like they could work. So if we use that block for another thing of cheese, and we use this block for something else, and for the cheese on this one, there's a Holstein texture that looks pretty cool. Gotta go back to the left to find that. I don't know if it would have been faster to go to the right or scroll back to the left, but there it is. And then for this block, there is a gingerbread texture that makes this look like a block of graham crackers, which I kind of like. So that looks really good. One of the things I enjoyed about this toy box is that it gave me a chance to use textures that I normally don't use. So I think that's kind of fun. Okay, and then I thought it'd be nice to have some herbs and things on here. So if we come over to the plants drawer, we go to the right. Actually, let's go to the left. I think it's quicker. Because under the pirate stuff, there's some bushes and things that we can use that kind of look like little sprigs of herbs and things. I don't think I used that one. I did use this one. And I used this one. And I think there was one more that I used. Let's see. Gotta try to find it though. That one. So we got some fresh herbs there. And that looks pretty good. Over here on this table, I had put down these little burners before, but we're going to take those out. Because I noticed after I finished the previous episode that that wasn't what I had at that location in the original toy box. What I had done was use this sidewalk corner piece to build a plate. And if you go up to building sets group 7, we have the Sugar Rush buildings. And I'd used this Sugar Rush cake house because I thought that looked pretty cool. And let's see, which way did I orient this? I gotta find my screen grab here out of all of them that I did. Yeah, so I'd centered it on the plate with the little doors and windows facing that way. That just gives another bit of detail to our toy box there. And we didn't need these because we covered that up with the plate. And those little curved sidewalk pieces make great plates. I really like that. So now it looks like we're ready to cook some stuff. We got prep stations, we got stoves with pots, we got a sink over there, and this is looking really, really good. Alright, well, I've done some longer episodes lately, so I think we're just going to stop at this point for today. Next time, we will build the plating station and Gusteau's office, as well as the red door that leads into the dining area. Well, that's all for me today. Before you go, leave a comment and let me know what you think of the kitchen so far. And be sure to like and subscribe for more Disney Infinity Toy Box videos like this. Thank you for watching, and have a great weekend.